Hey there, welcome back to day 3 of the Career Confidence Challenge. It's great to be back. I'm just gonna adjust here. Okay, awesome. So today we're talking about how to stop playing small at work, really focusing on your value at work. We have been on this series. There have been two other conversations that happened. The first one was about how to show up at work in terms of performance, image, and then exposure. So that was our first week of the Career Confidence Challenge. Then last week we went into personal branding. So if you miss those conversations, they are available on my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the channel and also catch up on whatever you missed. Today we're really talking about how to stop playing small in your career at work. And that all starts with being able to recognize the value that you have to offer and then share it. Because the most important thing is you have to be able to recognize the value that you have before you're going to convince someone else of it. So that's the first step always when it comes to being able to advocate for yourself at work, promote your skills. You need to recognize what you have to offer, and then you can convince someone else. So we'll talk about a couple of things when it comes to being able to recognize your worth and stop playing small at work. And the first one is it starts with having the right mindset. The way you think can definitely impact your career. It can definitely impact the way you see yourself, and it impacts the way you approach the workplace. I've worked with so many clients, and often something that they tell me is that they don't feel comfortable speaking about their achievements. They don't feel comfortable talking about themselves. Sometimes it's cultural in terms of the way that they were brought up. They were brought up to not speak about themselves or not speak about what they've achieved. For other people, it could be their personality. It's not something that comes naturally to them in being that person who is speaking about their accomplishments. And for other people, it may just be a different reason. But whatever the reason is, we need to understand that in the workplace, it is quite important to be able to put yourself out there and share your achievements. And this doesn't make you someone who is bragging, and it doesn't either make you a person who is pushy. Really, what you are doing is showcasing the value that you offer. And there is value for your organization in you doing this. Just assuming that your work is going to speak for itself is an assumption that a lot of people have, and it can hinder your career progress because at the end of the day, the people you report to often are busy. So they're not paying full attention to what you're doing. They're not paying full attention to what you're achieving on a day to day. But that responsibility is on you to be able to see that there is value that you're bringing to your organization and being able to showcase that. So that all starts with having the right mindset and recognizing that the work that you're bringing to the table is quality work, and then reframing self promotion from seeing yourself as someone who's bragging to someone who's really stating facts. You're just sharing what you've achieved. And recently, I worked with a client, and something that really helped her in terms of understanding how self promotion can help her career and how to speak about her achievements, speak about the things that she's doing for her organization without feeling braggy. Is This was for an interview. She's a client who is in our Advance Your Career program, and what we did is instead of framing the sentences around "I did this" or "I did that," we started by framing the sentences and the responses that she was giving around the benefit and the impact that she had made for the company. So, starting from the benefit for the organization, and then from that higher level benefit, speaking to how she contributed or how she supported that benefit. So, typically, if you think of like the star method or the STAR model is situation, task, action, result, and you state what you did, that you give the context of the situation, you speak about the task, what your actions were, and then you speak about the result. So what helped her frame her responses to her interview is by flipping that and starting with the result, because the result now is not an individual result. It felt like, okay, this is an organizational result. This is something that the company has achieved. And from that, she was able to speak firstly about the result, the situation, and then she spoke about the task and the action. And just that reframing of how the information was communicated helped her feel a lot more confident to be able to speak about the results that she's achieved for her company, and also be able at the same time to advocate for herself and share her accomplishments in this situation in an interview. But it is a framework that you can use even on a day-to-day in your workplace. And at the end of the day, an organization always wants to know what's in it for them. So if you're able to frame that for them and make it clear what the results, what the impact is for the company, it's a win-win on both sides. So the second thing when it comes to not playing small at work is knowing your worth. And that's what I was telling you at the very beginning. It's important that you recognize your contributions, you recognize them as valuable, you have an understanding of how you are able to make a difference in the workplace, because this will give you a sense of how do you position yourself in this company or this organization. I shared with you in previous weeks of the Career Confidence Challenge the importance of being able to regularly document your achievements, your metrics, feedback, and keeping that brag file or accomplishment folder. But in addition to that, when it comes to knowing your worth, doing your research, get to know what industry standards, industry benchmarks are. Make sure that you know that you are fairly compensated. This is not something that you should do only when you are preparing for an interview or negotiating your salary. This is something you should be doing on an ongoing basis. Understanding and knowing what are the skills that are necessary in your industry for your role, and how do you align with that? Have there been adjustments in your industry in terms of the skills that are required? Do you have a certain skill set that makes you stand out as a candidate, or that makes you stand out as an employee, that would warrant you being paid additionally, or that increases the value that you bring to your organization? These are all things that you want to be able to keep in mind. And what I've seen with a lot of the clients that I've worked with is, unfortunately, they sometimes wait until they hear of somebody else is getting paid more than they do. They're getting paid, and then now it becomes an issue that, how come so and so is making this much? Or a new person has joined the team. They're finding out that this new person is making more than they are. And they're now starting the conversation from comparing themselves to somebody else. Ultimately, when you're approaching these kinds of conversations, it shouldn't be about somebody else's work or somebody else's pay. It should be about the value that you bring to the organization. And so, as much as possible, you don't want to be caught in these kinds of situations. But the way that you will ensure that you're not caught in these kinds of situations of realizing that somebody's getting paid more than you are is by being on top of things, making sure that you know what industry benchmarks are, that you know what the standard is in your industry, and aligning yourself with that. The next thing that can definitely help you when it comes to not playing small at work is don't focus on your job, but focus on your career. Your job at the end of the day it's just a job, and it's often for a short period of time, maybe a couple of years that you're in the job. Gone are the days where people used to stay in the same job for 20, 25 years. That was their whole career. The job was the career, but that's no longer typically how people now structure their careers. We can see the job as something that is temporary for a few years or sometimes a few months, whereas your career, it's a lifelong journey. So what does that mean is that the actions that you're taking need to focus on the long term, because your career is a lifelong journey. So the steps that you're taking in terms of building your personal brand, as we talked about last week, or even the people that you're connecting with, the relationships that you're building, need to outlive this current job. So it's not just about you connecting with the people inside of your organization and building relationships with people inside your company. It's also you thinking about your actual career and being able to connect with people outside of your company, people in your industry, being able to broaden your reach so that if there's anything that happens, let's say, unfortunately, a layoff or something like that, all your connections are not going to be at the company that you're at now, but you've been able to broaden your reach to people outside of that organization. And this is the exact same thing when it comes to not only connections, but even the kind of work that you're doing. You don't want to have a specific skill set that only aligns with one company that you're working with. Being able to broaden your reach and really understand, what does the market need right now? How do I position myself for that? That's when you're really not focusing just on the job that you currently have, but you're thinking about your career. And this is also aligned with building your personal brand. When you take the time to focus on building your personal brand, it's not just for the job you have, it's for your career. Your personal brand is going to outlive whatever job you have right now. Your personal brand is something that you're going to carry through your career. It's going to evolve as you evolve as a person. It's going to be able to help you make those connections that you're looking to make if you want to make a career transition. So if you're looking to no longer play small in your career, you need to think of that bigger picture. Think beyond this current job that you have and actually look at your career, making that strategic plan and thinking, I need to build a brand that aligns with where I want my career to go. I need to make connections that are outside of the company that I work for and look broader to connect with people in my industry, in my field, so that I can position myself as that thought leader in the industry. So these are some of the things that you want to think about when it comes to not playing small in your career. The next thing that you want to keep in mind is show and tell. So this goes really well with what I was saying at the beginning in terms of being able to have the right mindset. But when it comes to your career, it's not just about you working hard and being that person who's getting things done. It's about showing it, but it's also about telling it. So being able to articulate what it is that you do, not just in the interview when they're bringing you on the team. You need to be able to articulate the work that you do when you're going to networking events, when you're in meetings and you're called upon to give a summary, or when you are in the elevator and for some reason you run into somebody. Being able to articulate what you do is a very important skill set that will help you stand out. And so when it comes to your career, it's not only showing what you do, but also being able to tell, to speak about it. So show and tell, because delivering results without articulating them really leaves your efforts unnoticed. And this is where frustration can build in, because you are working hard, you are delivering results, but you're not getting noticed. And this is unfortunately what tends to happen when you aren't able to actually articulate the value that you bring to the organization. You aren't able to articulate the impact that you're making at the company that you work for. So if you're here live, go ahead and shoot me a message. Let me know if you're joining live or you're watching the replay. And as I was mentioning earlier, this is week 3 of the Career Confidence Challenge. So if you weren't here for week 1 and 2, you can still catch up. The videos are available on my YouTube channel, so you can just go to the channel and catch up on week 1 and 2. And To conclude for today's conversation, I wanted to talk a little bit about toxic workplaces. I've been doing a few posts on LinkedIn about working in toxic workplaces, and I've worked in two toxic workplaces in the past. And I've shared a couple of those stories, and sometimes I get messages from people like, I'm in a similar situation, or what do I do with the workplace that I'm in. In my situation, the two places that I worked, the issue was primarily that a lot of the emphasis in those organizations was put on results. It was put on how on the what we're doing and not necessarily how we're doing it. So there was a culture where it was okay to manipulate. It was okay to yell. It was okay to be disrespectful. And there was people who were, the shining stars, if you want, of the organization. And those people could get away with this kind of bad behavior because they were seen as the people who were delivering results. And I'm sure, you have maybe experienced something similar, or you can understand that kind of workplace dynamic. So if that is where you are and you're looking to make an exit plan from a toxic workplace, what I would tell you is that it's really important to understand what is the actual issue in your workplace, because it may be a person, it can also be the system, the actual institution, the structures, its policies, but then it can also be the way that you interact with certain organizations or systems. So it's important that you have a good understanding of what exactly is the issue, so that you don't find yourself leaving one workplace and then going to another and you see that the same issues being repeated in a very similar organization or with very similar colleagues. So really being able to understand, what is my current situation, what is creating this toxic environment for me, and then from there being able to understand what next in terms of, making a firm decision of what it is that you want to do. I often talk to people through, people send me messages, as I was saying, through the posts that I create on LinkedIn, and people are telling me, I would love to leave, but I have commitments. And that's something that I can completely understand. But something that you also have to keep in mind is your mental health, right? If this workplace is really getting to the place that it's affecting you as a person, it's impacting your ability to actually do your work, it's impacting your ability to give to your family, it's impacting your ability to love yourself and actually do the things that you have to do, then that is something that you definitely have to pay attention to, because you don't want to get to the place where your health is severely impacted by this kind of workplace. So obviously there are different things that you can do in terms of, if your organization does have leave that you can take, that could be something that you can do to be able to get the time to focus on your job search and to focus on your exit strategy. You may want to seek professional support if that is something that's available privately or through your organization. That could be something that can help you, whether it's through coaching or a therapist. That is something that can help you as well. Or just even thinking of a support system through trusted friends, colleagues, mentors that can support you at that time. Because ideally, the goal is for you not to stay in this place long enough for it to have more of a detrimental impact on your health and your well-being. So then it comes to the place that you need to make a commitment to leave. So if you are going to leave this workplace, it can't be this kind of thing that, it's, you keep saying you're going to leave, but you're never actually taking the steps that are necessary to leave. And so once you make that firm decision that you're going to leave, now make your exit plan. So how long are you going to take to do your search? What preparations do you need to make? Does this mean that you need to prepare financially for this move? Are you deciding that you're leaving without finding a new role? Which for some people, it's not an option, right? But for others, it could be. So that is more on a personal level. You need to assess your situation. But if you're deciding, I'm going to continue at this job while I'm planning my exit plan, then that is another option. as well. But knowing that because you're still employed full time, you have to be dedicated to your schedule in terms of making a commitment to be able to make the transition to a new role. So updating your resume, your LinkedIn profile, build, elevating and building your personal brand are all part of it. Being able to network, targeting the companies that you want to focus on. And as I was telling you last week, when it comes to networking, don't only think about the people that you don't know. Sometimes we think about recruiters and hiring managers, and we go on LinkedIn and send messages. Think about the people that you actually know who are currently in your network. Is there somebody who can help you with this transition? Is there somebody that can support you with a referral? Something that helped one of my clients is that she wrote her resignation letter before she actually had a job or before she actually was ready to submit it. But just writing that resignation letter for her was almost like an affirmation that, yes, I'm making this commitment that I am going to be leaving this job. And now I'm putting all the steps in place so that this resignation letter will actually become a reality one day. And so when she finally got to that point that she got the new job, the letter was ready. She submitted the letter, but it was just like, for her, that was what she needed to create that division to say, I'm making a commitment. This is a clear commitment that I'm making, that this is part of my exit plan to exit this organization. So those are some of the strategies that can help you if you are someone who is in a toxic workplace and you're just getting in the place that you need to create your exit strategy, or just being able to research potential employers and opportunities that are out there so that you don't have to stay in this toxic workplace. And on that note, this is our third week of the Career Confidence Challenge, as I was saying. And we'll be back next week, next Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and it'll be the last week of the challenge. And that week will be focused on thriving at work as an introvert, one of my favorite topics to talk about. And that week also is going to be a World Introvert Day, which is going to be on the 2nd of January. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about that. And it is the holiday season, so I do want to take a moment to thank you all who have been supporting the work that is being done on my YouTube channel, the work that I've been doing on LinkedIn and elsewhere. It's been amazing to be able to support so many of you with your career journeys, whether we've actually worked together one-on-one through Advance Your Career, through the community, or just, you're someone who follows the content. It's been an amazing year. And so I am thankful to all of you for the continued support. I'm excited to see what 2025 has in store. And I'm wishing you all amazing holidays. I know for those who celebrate Christmas, that's just around the corner. So enjoy the time with your family, enjoy the time with your friends. And I will be back here on Monday the 30th. Is Monday the 30th? Yeah, it's the 30th at 5 p.m. Eastern. And we'll continue the conversation on thriving at work as an introvert. So I will see you then. Take care. Happy holidays.